Congress party has so far been saying that there is no evidence at hand to demonstrate that DLF benefited as a consequence of its association with Robert Vadra. But the Ashok Khemka case clearly shows that honesty was punished to save Robert Vadra, and his investigation demonstrates how the association with Vadra benefited DLF very clearly. To debate this, I am joined by Prashant Bhushan and Mr. KTS Tulsi, two eminent lawyers representing two completely different sides of the case. I want to begin with Mr. KTS Tulsi. Sir, so far the government and the Congress party has been saying that we did not go out of our way. Robert Vadra's association with DLF was a deal between two private individuals. Very clearly, from the details that are now available in the public domain, it is apparent, beyond doubt, that Robert Vadra's association benefited DLF. The mutation happened in one day. The sale deed was processed in a month. The land, the usage pattern was changed in 30 days. None of this would have happened if the question had not been about Robert Vadra's presence. Is this not a very clear demonstration of how DLF benefited because of its association with Robert Vadra? Mr. Tulsi.
No. I don't think so. I think that the entire matter is being looked at with colored glasses. If the government had taken too long, then there would have been an excess. If the government acts quickly, then there is an excess. If the government transfers an officer on the basis of a direction of the High Court, then also it is punishment. You see, if everything has got to be related somehow or the other by giving a slant or a spin, then we'll never arrive at a correct conclusion. In any case, if the officer feels that he has been wrongly transferred, if the transfer is male ID, there are remedies available under the law. This can't become a subject matter of debate where the guilt or innocence or the correctness or the lack of bona fides on the part of the government can be decided in either television chambers or in the street.
No, but let me lay out some facts. Land was mutated to Robert Vadra's name in one day. Usually the process takes between 3 to 6 months. The land use pattern was changed. It became land for a housing project within 30 days. Then Mr. Vadra sold this land back to DLF at a whopping profit. Does this not demonstrate the unholy nexus between DLF, the Haryana government, and Robert Vadra?
I am sorry, this does not by itself demonstrate anything. It may demonstrate, it may not demonstrate. These are matters for probe. Probes have got to be, the truth has got to be established in a very painstaking investigation. There is an investigation which is also lengthy. Now, we can't decide on the basis of two facts and then assume the rest. This is an extremely dangerous way of determining whether the decision is correct or incorrect, whether someone is guilty or innocent, and particularly when you are using a criminal law phrase, proves beyond reasonable doubt. I seriously dispute that.
Okay,
there is
let's
nothing
bring in
on the basis
Prashant
of which
Bhushan. You are saying that this is highly likely to be coincidental. There is no evidence at hand to demonstrate quid pro quo. Because the government acted, you are saying they acted. If they didn't act, you would have said that delaying it. Let's bring in Prashant Bhushan. Let him counter you, Mr. Tulsi.
Well, let's see what the facts are. Mr. Vadra gets an advance from DLF to buy land for 7 crores, which he immediately sells within a month to DLF, or within a couple of months sells back to DLF for 58 crores, which means that he is paid 50 crores as a gratification by DLF for just getting change of land user from the Haryana government, which is controlled virtually by his mother-in-law. If this is not a clear-cut case of an offence under the Prevention of Corruption Act, I struggle to ask what would be an offence. This is such a transparent, open and shut case of a gratification of 50 crores being made by DLF to Mr. Robert Vadra for the purpose of getting change in land use through the Haryana government, which is controlled effectively by his mother-in-law, because his mother-in-law is the super boss of the Haryana Chief Minister, being the person who decides who the Chief Minister will be, etc. Therefore, and it is being said that when you take action, people cry foul When you don't take action, people cry foul. Now what is happening? When we ask for an investigation, they say there is no need for an investigation. When an honest officer of the Haryana government starts an investigation in the matter, he is transferred out within 24 hours of his starting the investigation, even though he has not even completed 10% of his tenure in that post. I mean, what is happening?
Okay,
This
let me
shows
take up your
that this
argument
government has
about
become so
the
corrupt,
investigation,
so
Mr.
venal.
Tulsi. That's a very strong point that Prashant Bhushan says. Let's assume for a moment that you are correct when you say that these could be completely unrelated facts, in which case it calls for a transparent and independent probe. When there is an officer who begins an investigation, and when he lists out, and we'll run those graphics on our screen, when he lists out the irregularities, he is transferred by the Haryana government. Now, what do you say about that? Very clearly, the system is punishing honesty to save Robert Vadra. Mr. Tulsi.
No. You see, the officer has been transferred because of the order of the High Court. The order of the High Court is of the 1st of October 2012. That's what your story shows just now. I have no other sources of information. But if the order of the High Court is that either you transfer him or whatever, if the government has acted on the basis of that order, it can't be said to be related to another incidental fact which the persons who want to launch their political career on want to relate it to. We can't, you see, if there is an irregularity, if there is a crime, as Mr. Prashant Bhushan wants to suggest, there is a legal process available to any citizen. Any citizen can set the criminal law machinery into motion. They can lodge an FIR. They don't want to lodge an FIR because they are in a hurry to launch their political career.
No, but what about the investigation by Mr. Khemka, which lists out how one after the other laws were violated to benefit Robert Vadra and DLF? He's a government officer. There is an investigation. He's laid out. It's all now on record.
There is an investigation for the purposes of cancelling a mutation. Mutation has been cancelled. Nobody has reversed that order. So far as every acquisition of any immovable property in this country is wrought with some kind of a litigation or the other. But we can't say that because in this case the land was earmarked for consolidation. Now why did they register it in the first instance? Every citizen is harassed in this country, but if there is a crime, if there is an allegation of a crime which anybody wants to make, there is a legal process available. Either you go to the police or you go to the magistrate. They don't want to do any of that. They don't have the time to waste on judiciary. They don't want to go through the process of establishing the crime. No, they want it to be established in television channels, because that is a quicker way of launching their political career.
Okay, let Prashant Bhushan respond to that, and the questions that you're raising about Mr. Khemka's past track record, that he's a problematic officer, he's been hunted out 43 times in the last 21 years, this is not the first time he's got into trouble, and that now the mutation has been cancelled, no one's trying to change it. Let Prashant Bhushan respond to what you're saying.
You see, when a crime or any illegality or irregularity comes to the notice of any authority, including the police, when the police or any investigating machinery or an officer like Mr. Khemka get information, whether through media reports and documents published in the media, or even through our press conferences where we release certain documents, and if those documents show prima facie illegality or a crime or the commission of a crime, it is the duty of the investigating authorities to start an investigation in the matter. Here is a case where the Haryana government and people involved in the Haryana government and the central government stonewall any possible investigation. When an honest officer of the Haryana government starts an investigation on his own, he is victimized by being transferred within 24 hours of his starting this investigation. What does this show? I mean, this government has descended to such depths of criminality and venality that it boggles the mind.
Okay.
What is going on? They are just trying to intimidate and somehow scare away any honest government servant, any honest investigating authority from doing any investigation in the matter of Mr. Vadra. I mean, he has become such a holy cow, such a sacred animal in the eyes of this Congress government, and not only do all the ministers, all the Congress functionaries descend to defend him on all television studios, the Congress governments go out of their way to hound and victimize honest officers who try and do their honest duty in seeking to investigate these matters.
Okay, I will continue this face-off between Prashant Bhushan and KTS Tulsi, but I want to go across live to Chandigarh and bring in the principal player in this case. Ashok Khemka is now joining us on this broadcast, and I must say on behalf of the Headlines Today team and everybody watching that people, sir, are very impressed with the honesty that you've demonstrated and the fact that you had the courage to initiate a probe after seeing all the media reports. Can you please, I understand your limitations and the restrictions, but can you explain to your viewers why is it that you felt that something was wrong with the land dealings that Mr. Vadra had entered with DLF, and why did you begin this probe, Mr. Khemka?
There was a report on the 8th of October in the Hindu, and very damaging allegations were leveled. These were allegations against 5 companies allegedly belonging to Mr. Robert Vadra. At that stage, I, being the Inspector General of Registration, Haryana, it was my duty as a public authority to investigate, find out the truth, and if these allegations raised were not correct, then it was but natural that things are brought out and said that, look, my offices are clean, there is nothing wrong, and what the allegationists are telling is completely wrong. But in case, by any chance, the allegations raised were correct, then it is in the fitness of things that action is taken against the guilty and things are set right. This is to be done to restore the credibility of public officers before the citizens. You can't say if a VIP is involved or if a super VIP is there, I will refuse to act. I am not going to act. I will only act against the meek, the downtrodden and the poor. This is not the way public officers should be functioning.
But Mr. Khemka, I want you to answer this question directly for the benefit of our viewers. Since the time the story came to light, we've been getting multiple calls from the Haryana Congress saying Ashok Khemka is a problematic officer. He's been transferred 43 times in 21 years. It's because of his past track record. Even Chautala government transferred him several times, and that there was a High Court order which led to your transfer, and it had nothing to do with your findings on the Robert Vadra case. How do you respond to this, Mr. Khemka?
In case there is a High Court order ordering me to transfer, on your channel, I am telling I would resign from the service without any doubt. I will explain what the High Court order said.
Yes, please. You must.
My posting was Director General Land Records, Director General Consolidation of Holdings, Special Collector under the Land Ceiling Law, and Special Land Acquisition Officer. I made a representation to the Chief Secretary of Haryana in writing on 1st August 2012 and also represented before him in person, stating to him that I am Commissioner and Secretary to the Government of Haryana from 1st January 2007 and I cannot be posted in a junior rank of Collector. Secondly, land acquisition officers in the state of Haryana are the district revenue officers who are under secretary rank officers, and I cannot be posted as a land acquisition officer. So please withdraw these 2 orders, that is special collector and special land acquisition officer.
Okay.
There was no action because these orders were meant to humiliate me, since I had stopped some acts of blatant corruption in Hatron, my previous posting, where I was transferred within 50 days. In the meantime, there was a pending litigation in the Honorable High Court, where the Honorable High Court had directed that a ceiling matter, a land ceiling matter, must be decided within a fixed time frame. That land ceiling matter could not be decided. I, being the special collector, a bailable warrant was issued in my name and I was asked to appear and show cause why you have not committed contempt of court. I brought the matter before the Honorable High Court and said, I am in the rank of Commissioner and Secretary since 1st January 2007, and if I decide this matter as Special Collector, then my order in appeal would go to an officer who will be junior to me by 3 to 5 years. All divisional commissioners in the state were junior to me by 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
So there was an anomaly that if I decide the matter as special collector, it would be decided in appeal by an officer who was 3 to 5 years junior to me. It is like telling that the Honorable High Court decides a matter and that decision would be sit in appeal by a district judge. Having heard this, Justice Ranjit Singh, Honorable Judge of the Punjab and Haryana High Court, absolute in unambiguous terms directed the Honorable Chief Secretary that please post a collector of the appropriate rank before the next date of hearing, that is November 26, 2012, and let the matter be decided before that. Even otherwise, to see that I do not fall of the contempt of the Honorable High Court, I had passed the order without signatures and I was ready before the Honorable High Court. If the Honorable High Court directs, I will sign before the court itself and present before the Honorable Court.
You are rebutting.
But how can you have a system?
You are rebutting very
how
strongly.
How can you have
yes.
a system? Yes, I am rebutting, and if the Honorable Chief Secretary says that I was transferred from Director General Land Records and Consolidation of Holdings in pursuance to the Honorable High Court order, I will resign from the service.
That's
the
a very
Honorable
strong
High
point
Court's
you're making, Mr. Khemka, because officials from the Haryana government have been claiming this again and again. We've just heard the real story. Mr. Khemka saying he will step down.
Why is a lie being perpetrated through government press releases? And I am very sorry to say that a very honorable senior Supreme Court advocate is stating this without knowing the facts of the case. Without knowing the facts of the case and the particular order, he is stating things which is going to mislead the entire nation on this subject.
Yes, Mr. Tulsi.
What he is saying is that actually the order of transfer was in his interest because he is too senior for this post and he had himself approached the High Court when he is hauled up in contempt, and the High Court says that post an officer of an appropriate rank. If that's the order of the High Court, how is this order of transfer mala fide in any manner? He is too senior for this post. He himself is complaining that I cannot function because even the appellate authority is 3 to 5 years junior to me. If that's the state of affairs, how can this transfer be related to anything else but his own request to the High Court? This is very strange. I don't understand the logic of the officer. And this is only one instance of transfer. I do not know what were the causes behind the 42 other instances.
Okay, let Mr. Khemka respond. Prashant Bhushan wants to come in, and then I want to shift our attention to Robert Vadra. Mr. Khemka.
Mr. Tulsi, I repeat, this was qua special collector land sealing law. This was not Director General Land Records and Director General Consolidation of Holdings. Please, I repeat, this was qua special collector land sealing. This was not qua Director General Land Records and Director General Consolidation of Holdings and Inspector General of Registration. Please do not confuse the issue.
Prashant Bhushan wants to come in and make a quick point.
No, I am just wondering whether Mr. Tulsi has sold his soul to a government which is paying him for his briefs, etc. I am absolutely appalled and amazed
Which government
that even
is paying?
after hearing Mr. Khemka's detailed, all these Congress governments are paying you, Mr. Tulsi, for various briefs. I am sorry to have to say this, but I'm just examine your records as to how much money you have got from these Congress governments by way of these paid briefs that you are getting from the Congress governments.
Who is paying you?
The Delhi government, the Haryana government, etc. No, I don't get paid. I do all my cases, more than 90% of my cases are done without taking any fees at all.
And the accumulation
of property. I am a public interest lawyer, unlike a person who has sold his soul. You have sold your soul to this rotten, corrupt Congress party and their Congress government.
I don't know whether you have a soul.
To say this.
Do you have a soul?
I don't want this to get personal. We want to stick to the facts. I want to go back to Mr. Khemka and ask him about the irregularities he saw. You know, people don't understand, Mr. Khemka, very much about mutation. For me to take this debate further, can you explain, when you assessed the files, what are the irregularities you saw? Because the Congress government so far says no advantage accrued to DLF because of its association with Robert Vadra. It was a purely business deal. What did the government do for Robert Vadra which they wouldn't have done for an ordinary citizen, Mr. Khemka?
See, my order on 15th October is very clear and self-speaking. I was not competent to pass a value judgment on the Vadra DLF deal. As Director General of Consolidation of Holdings, I am to see all proceedings taken by my subordinate officers in villages taken under consolidation, and if I see a patent error or a patent illegality, I have the powers under section 42 of the Act to revise those orders. In the instant case, it was a very simple thing. An assistant consolidation officer had sanctioned the impugned mutation on 20th September 2012. Now, a mutation can only be sanctioned under the Punjab Land Revenue Act, and only revenue officers empowered under the Punjab Land Revenue Act can sanction mutations. An assistant consolidation officer is not a revenue officer, and being not a revenue officer, he could not have sanctioned the mutation, and therefore that sanction was without jurisdiction. It had no meaning. For example, me doing an act, say qua or something in Mr. Tulsi's office, it is an action without jurisdiction.
Okay.
So my senior simply sets the record right and say that this order is void ab initio, it has no meaning. So that mutation was set aside. It can always be sanctioned by a competent officer, by a Naib Tehsildar, who is an assistant collector of the second grade, after considering both the parties and following the necessary procedure. It can be sanctioned again after taking the permission of the consolidation officer under section 30 of the Consolidation Act.
And then let's take a look at the sequence of events, because after this the land use pattern was changed, and very conveniently, Mr. Bhushan, Robert Vadra then sold this back to DLF at a hefty profit. His entire role was only helping get the mutation done quickly and helping get the land use pattern changed to a housing society, which is exactly what DLF wanted, and therefore they rewarded Mr. Vadra very handsomely. That's his involvement, that's the role, that's the culpability.
No, absolutely. If you see that Mr. Robert Vadra had no funds to invest in this land at all. All the funds have been provided by DLF. DLF enables him, gives him the funds to buy this property for 7 crores, and immediately in a back-to-back transaction buys it back from him within a couple of months for 58 crores, thereby giving him a gratification, effectively a gratification of 50 crores for merely getting a change of land user from the Haryana government and a quick mutation from the Haryana government. This is the only service that Mr. Vadra provides. And how does he get this service? Because his mother-in-law happens to be the super boss of the Chief Minister.
No, Mr. Tulsi,
of
those are
Haryana.
serious answers
So therefore,
which are required.
It's a transparent case.
This is what dalals do, Mr. Tulsi.
Yeah,
you know, they help get things fixed. So do you agree that Robert Vadra played over here the role of a fixer?
No. I want to ask Mr. Prashant Bhushan that how did he, if he got the land use of the land allotted to him in Himachal changed, will that not amount to illegal gratification then? What kind of standards is he applying to others that he doesn't want to apply to himself? He thinks that he is the holy cow. They can get anything done from the government of their choice. But if anything, we have to understand in how many cases was the land use change? What was the requirement of the housing societies? If that is the requirement because of the increase in population in that area, whether it was justified, it's not one case. I don't know whether it was dozens of cases or many more. I have no idea. But all this is a matter of investigation which can be got done.
You've leveled a personal charge against Mr. Bhushan. Let him respond to that. Even though it's not material to our debate at hand, I will allow Mr. Bhushan to respond to that.
Mr. Tulsi, you should know the facts about this land in Himachal that you are talking about. Only a permission was given by the government of Himachal to a purely charitable educational society set up by my family, which is a totally charitable society, for being permitted to buy land of a small tea garden in disuse for the purpose of this purely charitable educational institution, in which we have received nothing at all from the government, in which we have invested. My father has donated more than 5 crores for this charitable educational purpose.
Mr. Tulsi,
in contrast, Mr. Robert Vadra has been given a gratification.
But the land use
Mr.
was
Robert
changed.
Vadra has been given virtually a gratification of 50 crores
there was
from
gratification
DLF
for you too.
for getting this land use
that
changed.
case,
okay, let me
Do
ask
you
that
not see the
question.
difference?
Let me ask that question to Mr. Khemka. Mr. Khemka, since you've understood also past land deals in that area, does it appear to you that getting mutation, A, you said from somebody who wasn't authorized to give mutation, and the fact that the land use pattern is changed in 1 month, making it a housing society, thereby allowing Vadra to make a killing, does it appear to be irregular according to you, sir?
See, this question I would take in my personal capacity, not in my
Yes,
official
please.
capacity. I stand transferred. I'm managing director. Now, let me tell at the offset that if one has a look at the Haryana Development and Regulation Act and the rules under which these licenses are given, there is much more than meets the eye in this case, and this would be shocking. The allegations are much sobered than what is actually as per the law. But my short point is, I am not here to see that I have suffered 43 transfers. Mr. Tulsi, I have heard him telling that, will he explain his 42 transfers? I have come here and wrote a letter for the first time to the Chief Secretary about this last transfer, because under the rules, a minimum tenure of 2 years is guaranteed. So I want to simply ask whether the government is above the rules or below the rules. These are statutory rules framed by the central government in consultation with the state government after laying it in parliament for 14 days. So the rules are applicable to the government, and at least there should be a reason why I should get transferred.
Mr. Khemka, let me just for a quick moment play devil's advocate.
No,
there are officials from the Haryana government who've called to say, hear me out, that your transfer orders came on the 11th, you passed this order on the 14th, knowing that you were being transferred, that you were actually wanting to make a political point, that you're an officer with political ambitions. I'm not saying this, officials of the Haryana government are, and that you wanted to come into the headlines to launch your political career by putting yourself out to be a martyr. I'm not saying it. That's what the insinuation from the Haryana government is, that after receiving your transfer orders, you came up with this order. How do you respond to that, Charles?
I will respond to that. See, this order is not benefiting me. This order is some irregularity has come to my notice. On the 11th at night 10 o'clock, the order is served at my residence. At 10 o'clock in the night on 11th. 12th, I make a representation. Under the statutory rules, I cannot be transferred. I am seeking time from the Chief Secretary's office. Please give me time. I do not get time on the 12th. Not on the 13th, 14th, which are holidays, not on the 15th. At 4:30 on 15th, I leave charge. I am competent, and it is my duty, if an illegality has come to my notice, that I should not shirk from my duty and pass orders. And that is what I have done, and I owe all responsibility. There is nothing immoral or illegal. It would be what you call in Hindi a palayanwadi, that is running away from a problem. If I had not passed the order, an order which a patent illegality which had come to my notice, and I had not passed it. Now, having said this, the very basic question is regarding licenses and discretions. The point I want to make is not Vadra and DLF. Vadra and DLF are not above the nation. Look, this nation, let me tell you, Mr. Tulsi's children are going to live here. His grandchildren would live here. My children and grandchildren will live here. I will serve this government, let me assure you, for 13 years, come what may. I do not have any political ambitions. After 60 years, I am going to live a very good life with my wife and with my children and grandchildren. There are no ambitions here. I have lived a life of probity. I have called a spade, something wrong has happened. I have fearlessly expressed it.
this
God
is
has been kind
scandalous.
to make me an IS officer.
Why is it
I
scandalous?
did
Because
not-
he's speaking
I
the
did
truth,
not-
Mr. Tulsi?
No, it's
Why is it scandalous?
It's scandalous that he would pass an order after he has received the order of transfer. This is scandalous. This is
Okay,
just
so
unheard
let
of. It's not only
Mr.
improper,
Mr.
but
Tulsi,
this is in
please
fact
do not-
a conduct not becoming of an officer.
Please do not interrupt me, Mr. Tulsi. Let me complete. Let it be scandalous, Mr. Tulsi. You may approach the court and you may challenge this order on the basis that at night 10 o'clock I received this order and this order be set aside because I passed this order at 10 o'clock in the morning. On 15th I signed it and dispatched it. You may please take this order to the Honorable Supreme Court or Honorable High Court and
It
get
clearly
it
is
set aside.
malafide and without
This is
jurisdiction.
an
No, but
open-
Mr. Tulsi, Robert Vadra
Yes.
makes a killing. DLF benefits by association
Please,
with
let
Robert
me-
Vadra. You don't find that scandalous. You find an honest officer's actions based
no.
on the records he's seen. You find that scandalous?
No, this is scandalous because here's an officer wanting to become a martyr
Mr.
and launch his political career.
Please, Mr. Tulsi.
That's what is scandalous.
Tulsi.
Robert Vadra's case deserves investigation, deserves an inquiry, deserves a legal process. We can't pronounce a judgment of guilt or innocence in the television studio. This would be clear contempt of the orders of the Supreme Court. We must respect the process of law and the process of justice, which
Let
is
Mr.
the
Khemka
exclusive
respond to
prerogative.
that. You're calling his actions scandalous. Let him respond, Mr.
Mr.
Khemka.
Yeah.
Mr. Tulsi, I would just make a point here. See, what this order points out, let us not focus on Mr. Vadra or DLF. This order brings out very beautifully that there is a 7.5 crore land, some 7.5 crore is spent on procuring licenses and that is converted into 58 crores. Now, who is appropriating this 33 crores?
I have
It is
not
being
heard of this sort of
appropriated
thing.
by middlemen. It is being appropriated by middlemen.
No, middleman.
Please, let's
Middleman
have
by
a
the name
policy.
of, is it Robert
Middleman.
Vadra? That's the question because he's the
No,
middleman
no,
in this
I
case.
am-
Let's
no.
call a spade a spade.
No, please understand this. This premium should not belong to middlemen. This should be either go to the end user as cheap housing or it should go to the government coffers to fill up the fiscal deficit. There should be a policy. It is like a Colgate scam, a 2G spectrum scam, where premiums on discretions and licenses are being appropriated by middlemen.
You know, Mr.
And
Khemka,
let's have a national debate. Yes.
you know, I need to let you go, but I have one final question because we are hearing from Chief Minister Haryana that an inquiry will be ordered against you, that your actions will be probed, and if your order turns out to be incorrect, strict action will be taken. So no action against Vadra or DLF, but strict action against you. Are you concerned? Because I have heard several government officers say the sort of things that you've said tonight, but in private. You've come on record, on camera, you've said it. Given the sort of victimization you faced in the past, are you concerned? You've been demoted to a level of an officer 12 years your junior. Are you concerned that the government will create a lot of problems for you?
No. I am not concerned about it. You see, whoever the person is, he has a good conscience and he has a bad conscience. Both elements are there in every human being. And I know the good will come out winner in the end if
Good will come
the
out.
Honorable
He's already
Chief
launched a
Minister
career.
will not, the Honorable Chief Minister of Haryana will know that taking an action against the innocent, he will not be able to take the guilt in his life. He will not, his conscience will not allow him to do such an act. In case he still goes ahead and does it, I will take it as my destiny. There is nothing, I am not concerned about.
You're a
the
brave
realities.
man. You're
That's
a very
something-
brave man, Mr. Khemka. Not too many officers would have had the courage
Something-
to take on
something-
the likes of DLF
something
and
will-
Robert Vadra.
No, something will happen to me. Somebody is threatening me. Mr. Tulsi calls it scandalous. Unnecessarily, I am being hauled in the media for passing an order which appealed to my conscience. Yes, if he thinks
After
I am
the order.
scandalous, I have done a scandalous act, it's okay.
You
But
know, if this
I
is what
only
a
answer to
scandal
my
is, these are the
conscience,
sort
I
of
was right.
scandals we need. Where criminality is established, the guilt is established, the lacuna is put on record. Mr. Khemka, Thank you very much for joining us. You're a very brave man, and many people would be very proud of what you've done. Thank you very much, Mr. Khemka. This is very unfortunate. Mr. Khemka is breaking down. Sir, please, I must say this to you, sir, that everyone who's watching this is with you. You are not alone in your battle, sir. You say that your life is under threat, that people are pressurizing you. You've taken on the highest and the mightiest in this land. But the people of India are fully with you. Mr. Bhushan, we've got a man on our screens. He's crying. You must tell him that everybody is fully with Mr. Khemka. Mr. Bhushan, please.
Well, I just wish to tell Mr. Khemka that we are all very proud of him, that the nation is proud of him. We need officers like him, though I know that it's very difficult in today's environment, the kind of venality and criminality that these governments have descended to. It has become virtually impossible for officers like Mr. Khemka to survive in the system. I have personally dealt with the cases of a number of such whistleblowers who have been victimized for just standing up against corruption within the system.
Mr. Khemka,
unfortunately, this whole system of whistleblower resolution, whistleblower bill, etc. is just not working in this country. This government is not willing to put in place the institution of an independent Lokpal, continues to victimize honest officers, continues to stonewall any investigation against any criminality when it involves their own people or people in high places or large corporates who are bribing them left and right for this whole kind of politics of winning elections by money
absolutely.
And making money after winning elections
Mr.
from their
Khemka,
office, etc.
It would dishearten me a lot if you were to go out of the show with tears in your eyes, because you've moved people with your actions, with your courage, with the power that you've shown that an honest officer has. You've really brought the genie out of the bottle. You've shown that there was wrongdoing. So we are proud of what you've done. Please do not go out of the show crying, Mr. Khemka.
I would only tell one thing before I quit in this channel. I put my son in the noble profession of law in a national law school. I was an engineer myself, and to hear from Mr. Tulsi that my order was scandalous, it has pained me in my heart. I do not mind me transferred again, but I only pointed out that the Chief Minister is also subject to the rule of law. I am pained that Mr. Tulsi finds my order a scandalous order.
Mr. Tulsi, do you want to take that back?
Yes. In my experience of 40 years of law practice, I have not come across a single order where a judicial officer or a quasi-judicial officer has passed orders on judicial side after receiving the order of transfer. I have not even heard of it. I am shocked to hear this. I did not know that this was the state of affairs when I came into the studio. I heard this only from the anchor. It is Rahul who mentioned that that this order was passed 3 days after the order of transfer had been served upon you. I think propriety demands that no judicial orders are passed.
No, but
after
Mr. Tulsi, instead of getting bogged down by technicality, why don't we look at the material evidence at hand? That an officer, that's what Mr. Khemka's report says, an officer who was not authorized to allow the mutation to happen, allow that to happen, the land use pattern was changed in a month, and Robert Vadra made a killing in this deal. Why don't we look at that instead of getting bothered by technicalities?
He is going much beyond what his order says. He is also speaking about a lot of things. It's completely unheard of that an officer would like to talk about affairs which are not even dealt with him in the file or in the order. This is just not done.
Mr. Khemka, do you want to respond to that?
I don't know what he is meaning. I don't know what kind of brief Mr. Tulsi has. I would have thought it is a Palayanwadi order, that is, you are running away from a situation, a case which has come to your notice. You are not going to correct an illegality. I had only corrected an illegality, a patent illegality. I was the Director General Consolidation. There is no system in the state government offices where on service of the order you simply relieve, you are deemed to be relieved. You relieve after your successor comes and takes over. and you have represented to the Chief Secretary
Okay.
against the order of transfer,
This is
because
an
it is in
unwritten
violation
law.
of the statutory rule.
This is an
It
unwritten
is in
law,
violation of the
even
statutory
among with
rule.
the High Court judges.
Mr. Tulsi, if you know something more, you know the law, you know the HDR Act and you know the HDR rule, please see whether the permission to
No.
sell under Rule 17 is legally valid or not. Please see that.
I am shocked.
Please see that. I don't want to say more than that. I could have written more than that. This is something what affairs are going on. How premiums are appropriated, one need not say that. You should be shocked by that. Not
I'm also shocked by
the
your
exposure.
action.
Okay. I need to let Mr. Khemka go, and I must reiterate once more, Mr. Khemka, do not be scared. You know, everyone watching this broadcast is on your side. Thank you very much, Mr. Khemka, for joining us. Please go with a smile on your face. You're a brave man. You've done the right thing. You don't need to have tears in your eyes. Everyone is backing you all the way. Thank you very much, Mr. Khemka. I see there are other channels waiting. Thank you very much, Mr. Khemka. Now, Prashant Bhushan, we must bring the focus of this. I'm glad you're leaving with a smile. Thank you very much, Mr. Khemka. Thank you so much. Prashant Bhushan, the matter clearly at hand is the manner in which Robert Vadra benefited. You know, Mr. Tulsi is finding scandal at the wrong places, you think? Because what he should be scandalized about is the manner in which Robert Vadra benefited. That is something he is not finding scandalous at all, Mr. Bhushan.
Absolutely. I mean, if you hear Mr. Tulsi and hear him say that in 40 years of his legal career, he has never come across an officer like Mr. Khemka who has passed an order like he has passed, it's because Mr. Tulsi has got used to playing along and going along and doing advocacy on behalf of these corrupt and venal governments. And he has got used to seeing officers who play along with corruption in high places, who do not stand up against corruption and venality, who do not stand up to do the right things.
No, but Mr. Tulsi, let's look. Okay, here's an officer who's had the courage to put the pen down on paper and point out irregularities where they existed. Let's look at the material evidence at hand. Is it not a fact that an officer who's not authorized to do a mutation has done a mutation? No. Why don't you contest facts?
And manufacture a ground for challenging his transfer or launching a political career. You see,
he says he's not interested in politics.
He says,
don't we need more officers like Mr. Khemka who have the temerity to stand up to their political bosses to do what is right instead of being cowed down by their political masters? We need more such officers, Mr. Tulsi.
Not necessarily. You see, this is all right. The question is that we want to determine the guilt or innocence of people without investigation, without judicial trial. We want to usurp the judicial function by jumping to the conclusion even before an inquiry is made, before an investigation
Mr. Tulsi,
is conducted.
How will an inquiry be conducted? The officer conducting an inquiry is transferred out. His orders are then probed. You know, the Chief Minister is probing what Mr. Khemka did instead of probing Vadra's irregularities.
Officer was conducting an inquiry only with regard to mutation, validity of mutation, and he cancelled the mutation. The question is, criminality cannot be decided except by an investigation.
Okay.
An investigation under the Criminal Procedure Code. There has to be an investigation which can be launched by the likes of Mr. Prashant Bhushan, which they choose not to do.
Why not?
Because
I'm out of time. Let that be the last word. Mr. Prashant Bhushan, this Robert Vadra case has been going on and on. You know, if this were 2G, Colgate or anything else you've dealt with in the past, you would have jumped to court. Why haven't you gone to court? You must too explain that. If you believe you've got documents, you've got evidence, then the India Against Corruption spearheaded by you must go to the Supreme Court. Why aren't you doing that, sir?
They're afraid of failure.
No, one can go to the court. The question is, what does the law require? The law requires that when any evidence or prima facie evidence of any corruption or illegality surfaces from anywhere, whether it surfaces through the media, whether it surfaces through our press conference, etc., it is the duty of the authorities to start an investigation. But here we have a situation where the authorities or those who control all the authorities, that is the Chief Minister, all the ministers, all the Congress functionaries, descend en masse to say that no investigation will be allowed, no investigation will be permitted, no investigation will be ordered.
So they can approach
when an
the
honest
magistrate.
officer starts an investigation on a small
Why
issue,
don't you go to a
like
magistrate?
even an illegal mutation,
There is
he
a procedure in
transferred.
the criminal procedure code. You can approach the magistrate. You can ask for an FIR to be registered, but no, you want to do that because you
Okay.
want decision today. You're not willing
Mr.
to
Bhushan,
wait
very
for
quickly,
24
I'm out of
hours.
time.
You want to
Final
hang him
comments,
now.
Mr. Bhushan.
So therefore, the mantra of the Congress party and their acolytes like Mr. Tulsi is that we will not do anything that the law requires. We will not allow the authorities to conduct any investigation.
Okay.
Let the persons who are aggrieved go to court,
Yes,
spend
that's
all
the
their
procedure.
time, energy and years in court in order to get justice in this system.
Prashant
This is
Bhushan,
the
Mr.
mantra
KTS Tulsi.
of a corrupt and venal government.
For joining me
And
on the
their
center stage
acolytes like
face-off
Mr.
tonight. We've
Tulsi.
had a cracking debate between two eminent lawyers. We also heard from Ashok Khemka himself. I never want to tell you what to think. You've heard all sides out. You must decide whether Mr. Khemka did the right thing, because I believe he has shown what the irregularities are. The mutation has been cancelled. It has been established that Robert Vadra's association benefited DLF and he made a killing out of it. That is now proven through the actions of that brave officer. Did he exceed his brief? Should he have exceeded his brief? You decide. Thank you very much.